The do's and don'ts of training a recruiter. Check out this video right now and see what they are. Hey, welcome to the Millionaire Recruiter. I'm Brianna Rooney, your Millionaire Recruiter. If you haven't seen this channel before, it is about upping your game in recruiting. So we talk about all different subjects in the recruiting world that we live in, which is huge and growing by the second. So this one is going to be more on training, because if you're ever going to really make it and really up your game, if you have an agency or if you're building an internal team, you have to really focus on training. And that's what, essentially all of these videos are about, or little, tidbits of training. But recently I was thinking just about like my program that I do and how I'm in hyper growth mode. So everything has to be really like, tightened up and very precise, and thinking, what are the things that I've done wrong over the years and what are the things that I've done right? So here's a few different things. So first of all, fundamentals we talk about in recruiting is so important. And that really comes with letting people learn. So especially in agency life, and when I say agency life, I mean contingency recruiting, we're trying to get things done, results, as quickly as possible, because we don't make money if we don't. And I still think that same practice does go in all of recruiting, even if you're internal. You're having, teams saying like, we're behind on hiring. Like, it's very rare that a company is ahead of their hiring goals, right? And so there's constant pressure as a recruiter and as a head of a recruiting team in order to get those same results going. And so lots of times they throw recruiters in, and I think that's why their industry has this, bad reputation, which I got to tell you is really getting better. So awesome job, everyone. But you want to slow down. And I know in the past I didn't do that. I know I didn't do that because I was like, we're just going to get going. We need to get you in here. And I'm sure that, you'll find someone that will work and, whatever. No, you have to slow down and you have to let them digest the information. And then not only digest that information, but then you need to test them on that information, because it's all fine and dandy that you're going through the motions and you're training them and you're giving them good content, but you don't know what they don't know until you know it. So you have to test them. You have to do mini quizzes. You have to do mini mock conversations. And a lot of times people say, well, but that puts me on the spot because I get really nervous during mock conversations. Then do that mock conversation over and over again. I suggested with one of my newer employees, because Zoom is, we're constantly looking at ourselves in the Zoom when you really should be looking at everyone else, but it's nearly impossible not to look at yourself. And it gets really nerve-wracking. And, I'm here in front of the camera with you, but I had to do videos and watch myself, which I got to tell you is one of the most excruciating things in the world, to watch yourself on video. But it's just something that you have to do. And so you can get over those nerves. And really, you got to think that recruiters are put in these hard spots, hard conversations all the time. You never know what your day is going to fully consist of, or actually maybe even your week. So when people are putting you on the spot, you need to be able to move and not freeze under pressure. And so that does come with having mock conversations. I think that that's super important. So definitely you train, you test, you train, you test, and it needs to be broken down into like little parts, right? Again, because they have to absorb that information. And then I think what's really important when you are training is to set expectations. I actually think setting expectations at any time is super important. So you need to tell them here, this is what you have to know. This is what I expect you to know. This is when I expect you to know it. So you take the time to learn it, digest it, and ask questions. And then go even further to say, if you don't ask me questions, I'm going to assume that you know. Then when I test you on it and you don't know those things, that's when I'm upset. So you have to lay out that whole thing for them. The start, the finish, expectations, what's going to happen if they fail and didn't ask you questions. That I think is very important. And I think as a trainer, that's one of the most frustrating things, is when people don't ask questions and then don't know. It's awful. It's awful for both sides. So definitely do those quizzes. And then as you're taking them through, it's nice to even do share screens when you're training, because you need to see how their brain thinks, and then you have to have them talk it out. So like if you're sourcing on a share screen, that person should be talking throughout the whole process, not just doing and showing. That's happening too, but they're saying like, this is why I do this. This is why I'm doing XYZ. This is why, I want to talk to this particular, so I want to message this candidate. This, like there's all of those things, right? So that's really important. And as a trainer, what's really important is that you're quiet and that you let them fumble and you don't always catch them when they fall. So a lot of times there'll be this awkward silence. They'll say, I don't know. The person will say, I don't know. And you're literally just kind of sitting, looking at each other or on the phone with each other. And you're like, we'll figure it out. Tell me something. Are you going to say, I don't know to the client and then just hang up the phone? So you have to give them those real conversations. And then you can give them a couple suggestions, but then let them finish and get there. And then have them make notes. Another thing that's really good on keeping people accountable during recruiting training is when say, hey, take notes as of everything we just talked about and everything that you need help with and send them over to me. Now, that is a little more time consuming, but you're getting them used to typing and talking. And you need to get them used to typing and talking because they need to be doing intakes with candidates or clients and typing and talking, because they could miss a lot of information because they've had this long conversation and they've maybe talked to 8 people that day, so it's like a lot of things are missed if it's not done in the moment. And so that's another great tool, I think, when you are training, in order to get them used to that. It's almost like a court reporter is what I think about, but it's different because it's supposed to be moving, it's supposed to be natural. Another thing that I would definitely recommend is having them make a script. You show them what your script is. That's my recruiting voice. Here's what my company stands for. Here's our mission, here's our values. This is what we do. Like all in a, it's like a one page. It's not a lot, right? Like that's the whole thing, like little bits of information. And then you say, now off of what you know of us, for your own recruiting voice, let's find it. Let's articulate your recruiting voice, because that's what people have a lot of trouble with too, is they're so used to just training and having the company's recruiting voice, which is good, but they need to find their own recruiting voice. And so having them make a script is super important. And this is actually something, I did this podcast with Marcus Edwards a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing. And he is the one that was like, what do you mean? There's lots of comedians, that go up on stage and like all of these random things happen. And you think that they just kind of, made it up as they go, and they're, so talented that way. But then you go see their show next year and those same exact quirky, random things happen. And it's because it is a script, but they still did an amazing job because they made it feel real. So there are different ways, lots of different ways that you can make a script feel real. And it's also repetition. My exec coach just told me a couple weeks ago that someone has to read something 17 times in order to digest it. Like that's crazy. So as a trainer and as the recruiter on the other side that is getting trained, slow down. That's how many times you do have to read things. And I know that most recruiter personalities move very quickly. I move very quickly, but sometimes when you move too fast, you're missing some key information that you are not absorbing. And so you're always going to be using cheat sheets. Now, cheat sheets are totally fine. And I recommend always having certain things up because look, not everyone's perfect. You're not always on top of your A game. So have cheat sheets, but in theory, you should be able to not use them eventually. Like that's the whole goal. And that's how you're really absorbing information. So I hope that everyone has really enjoyed the past videos. I mean, check some out. There's lots of information on how, really the recruiting world works, how you can up your game as a recruiter, and we can really up this industry. But this is your time now. If you haven't seen it yet, there are so many recruiting jobs out there. And again, like I have videos on all the different jobs in the recruiting world. I'm sure there's one for you. So definitely check that out. Check out those other videos. And I would love to hear who has a great training program, who's had a good experience, or who's had a really bad experience and why. I love to hear those horror stories because it actually helps, I think, everybody grow. Because when you hear a bad story, you realize, okay, here's what not to do, here's what it didn't work out, here's what you can do. So again, just really quick recap on the do's and don'ts of recruiting training, and this goes for either you're getting trained or you're the trainer. You always have to stop and let them learn. You can't move too quickly. You definitely always give quizzes at different, during the different contents. You do mock conversations. You have them write a script, and you definitely do not always want to give them the answers. Let them fall. I know it hurts, I know it's hard, but let them fall and let them do their job, because that's why they're here. That's why you hired them, that you have to give them their own wings. Don't ever clip wings. So I hope you're all having a great, awesome recruiting week. Can't wait to hear more from you. Like, subscribe for sure so I can keep doing these videos. They're a lot of fun. And thank you for all the love that I've been getting through LinkedIn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I will see you next week. And do not forget that money is just the vessel that gets you to do all the amazing things you want to go do. Go live your life. See you next week.